Right. Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome to the first Cabinet of 2023. Just about not too late enough to say Happy New Year to those who haven't said Happy New Year to over the last few days. Welcome to the committee. Before we start, can I just remind people that we are firstly live on video, and secondly, to stun your phones or put them on to silent would be really helpful. Thank you. Agenda item 1. Apologies. I think we're full house, aren't we? So good. Okay. Agenda item 2. Declarations of interest from members. None recorded. Agenda item 3. To propose the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of December 2022 to be signed as a correct record. Are we all in agreement? We are indeed. Thank you. Agenda item 4, questions from the public. Any questions? No, not this time. No. Agenda item 5, Chair's urgent business. I have no urgent business to record with Cabinet. Agenda item 6, leaders' announcements. I guess the first thing to say is congratulations to Plymouth City Council for conducting 2 by-elections. On the culmination of them was on the 12th of January, and if I can congratulate Councillor Will Noble, the Labour Party for Moorview, and Councillor Lauren Macleay, Green Party for Clinton Chattlewood. Just after New Year, January the 2nd, I, along with other senior members of the Council and the Lord Mayor, attended a reception on board of Brittany Ferries, the flagship Port Arvin, to celebrate the very special milestone. Councillor Dreen was with me, and Councillor Patel, Councillor Shea. We were celebrating the first sailing of Brittany Ferries 50 years ago on January the 2nd, 1973. The event came out of a meeting with myself and the CEO of Brittany Ferries, Christophe Mathieu, in the summer, and it brought together civic representatives from across Brittany, Devon, Cornwall, Wales, and along with many, many employees of Brittany Ferries to celebrate the significance of the relationship between Plymouth, Brittany, and Brittany Ferries. I really want to thank everyone that took part in that, and particularly the staff of Brittany Ferries that organised such a fantastic event, and indeed customs and the border controls who handled the big queues rapidly and efficiently. I want to sort of also say a big thank you to the Brittany Ferries chairman who spent some time with us, Pierre Bihan Pudek, who, amazing character, he's still a farmer. So he gets up at sort of 5 in the morning, does his farming, and then goes off and chairs a very large company. I'd also like to say how pleased I am that the government is putting through the Fair Wages Bill for seafarers, and we wish that well as it progresses through Parliament. This is not an abstract reception or event for Plymouth or indeed the UK. I was having a look on Professor Google earlier, and I read, according to the Office for National Statistics, the total trade in goods and services between the UK and France is £78.3 billion for quarters leading up to Q2 of 2022. So that's, we are the 5th biggest trading partner. France is our 5th biggest trading partner as a country, and indeed imports and exports between the 2 countries have risen by 20.6% over the last year. So maintaining and celebrating that connection is extremely important, not just in terms of Plymouth, but the wider UK economy, in my view. The relationship between Council, the port owner, and Associated British Ports has never been stronger. This administration is totally focused on the growth opportunity for our ports, and together with our partners, we have produced a new Millbay Port Master Plan and bid for funds. So on behalf of Cabinet, I hope you're happy to back me when I say I'd like to formally wish Brittany Ferries a happy 50th birthday, and here's to the next 50 years. Last week, I met with the Vice-Chancellor of Plymouth University to consider a potential opportunity for a city investment zone, as referenced in the August statement. We are investigating opportunities how to align this with the new Plymouth and South Devon Freeport and capitalise upon our globally recognised marine and maritime research innovation strengths across the city. In other words, we're looking if we can sort of orientate around a university investment zone for this city. And indeed, I just spoke with the University Vice-Chancellor about that again, and we'll be both communicating with ministers to explore those options. Last week I attended the House of Lords Parliamentary reception celebrating the establishment of Great South West organisation. It was hosted by Lord Berkeley, who lives down here in the southwest. A number of the region's MPs attended the event, including the chair, Simon Jupp MP. After the House of Lords event, I did attend the Greater South West Partnership Board workshop, and on behalf of Plymouth, when they were asking what should be the top few priorities for the prospectus, I did say it would be, from our point of view, hopefully transport connectivity. You know, we've been impacted by the rail strikes this year, by quite a lot of roadworks on the A303 and associated roads, and also, of course, we don't have an airport at the moment, so transport connectivity is something that it's not just necessary for us, but it's something that will massively drive up investment opportunities and growth around the city. I think that's me in terms of leaders' announcements, and we will move to cabinet member updates. I'll go around the room clockwise. Councillor Sher.
Thank you, Leader. Mine are very much within the reports that I'll deliver shortly, so I'll lead on to my colleagues.
Thank you, Leader. Just a quick update on the highways, what we're doing there. I've spoken before at Cabinet about Velocity, which is the machine that will be attending potholes and things that we have on trial. That will be starting in February, various locations throughout the city. The CCTV centre building is almost completed for the building. The A38, there's been a few incidents on that. We have finally managed to get meetings with National Highway to discuss issues that have come up with that. There's more than one issue there, 3 or 4 actually. So we'll be having some discussions with them shortly. The carbon reduction programme to calculate bases, we're working in partnership with Devon County Council on as well. Turning to the Capability and Ambition Fund, the Capability and Ambition Fund is a revenue grant that enables councils to promote walking and cycling within their area through behaviour change and initiatives and future scheme developments. Plymouth was invited to bid for £190,000 of funding. We actually successfully secured £208,000, being one of the councils whose funding exceeded the bid amongst the strength from all the other proposals in the categories. We will be using this for developing a pipeline of tomorrow's sustainable transport projects, including development work for the route under Colesdown Hill. That's a cycle path going all the way out to Sherford eventually. We'll also be implementing new Safer School Streets programme, which is the temporarily closing outside of schools to encourage more walking and cycling from the area, and to continue our Bike It Plus programme, engaging with school children to encourage the uptake of cycling at schools. Leader, I'd like to make an announcement regarding bus services in the city. Following the difficult decisions on the budget that we had to make at our cabinet meeting on the 10th of November last year, and in particular the changes we reluctantly had to make to some of our non-commercial routes, I have been working tirelessly behind the scenes with many transport companies and operators since then to see what I could do to support some of the routes that would be lost. The decisions that were made in November protected 9 of the 14 routes, and of course the financial context for the council has not got any better since then. I am therefore delighted to announce that we will be able to reintroduce bus services to the Merrifield and Holly Park areas of the city. Our sustainable transport team have been working with their counterparts at Devon County Council and Plymouth City Bus, who have been successful in securing a replacement bus service to Merrifield, which will be provided by a rerouting of the current 59 service. This is a route Plymouth City Bus operates under contract to Devon County Council. The new service will commence on Monday, the 30th of January. It will operate 4 journeys per day in each direction, reinstating links for Merrifield residents to both the Ridgeway and the city centre, as well as expanding travel opportunities to take in Sparkwell, Shaw Prior and Bickley. The timetable also has a peak journey to and from the city centre, which will hopefully help generate commuter patronage on this route. And for the first time in several years, this will mean the residents of Merrifield now have a Saturday service as well. And all this will be provided at no cost to the city centre. But Leader, that's not all. Discussions with Plymouth City Bus have also led to the reintroduction of a service from Holly Park and Ringmore Way, providing links to West Park, St Budo Square and the city centre, also starting on Monday the 30th of January. The new service will comprise of 4 journeys a day in each direction, Monday to Friday. While this service is more limited than what was there before, I hope residents will find the service helpful to access local services, doctors, dentists and banking. I should emphasise that Plymouth City Bus are providing these services strictly on a commercial basis. Therefore, the service being provided is on a use it or lose it basis, and as such will be reviewed after 6 months. I personally would like to express my thanks to Devon County Council and Plymouth City Bus for working with me and the Sustainable Transport team to enable these services to be reinstated. One final quick one, which I'll let Councillor Carlisle talk about in depth. I had a web call this morning with some exciting news for students in the future to try and spark engineers at a young age from schools, which I think is exciting. But I'll let Councillor Carlisle talk about that. Thank you, Leader.
Thanks, Councillor Dreenan. Can I thank you personally for the hard work you've done reviewing the non-commercial bus routes and literally going around route by route, stop by stop, and then dealing with the bus shelters as well and getting those modernised. It's been a terrific set of work. Thank you. Councillor Wakeham.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to give you some more good news in brief. We've, in actual fact, been very busy this financial year, as I'm sure you all know. We've added considerably to our transport fleet. We've got 22 new vehicles in total, and you might think, well, that's a major expenditure at this time. But these vehicles were absolutely necessary because we were wasting so many man hours and so many vehicles in dock all the time. So I think we've literally made some really good progress here, and it'll help us in the future. This year we won't be behind, hopefully, with any services. We'll be able to keep up to scratch. So we've got 6 side access cage vehicles to empty 1,095 litter bins across the city, and last year it was a little catastrophic, or in the year just gone. We had so many breakdowns, and they were in dock so much. It was quite concerning, actually. We've got 8 new electric vehicles, mainly vans, 5 new refuse trucks. And again, we needed them because we were having quite a few problems with the old ones. They do take a lot of wear and tear, of course. We've got 1 vehicle mounted boom for tree works, which has been renewed, and that's an excellent addition. We've got 1 cold wash street cleaner for the city centre, and that is an essential piece of equipment. And we've got 1 new truck and trailer at Chosen, and 23 items of new plant. And that includes the 2 weed rippers that have been essential in controlling our back lanes this year, because that's been a problem for a long time now. I can remember walking up through one of the lanes I'm not mentioning where, but there were weeds that were up to my waist. So we've done a really good job in combating that, and I've got to thank the team for their efforts there. This year we're way ahead, I think, on controlling the weed situation. Last year we had a few problems with contractors, but this year we're way ahead of the game. So again, that's looking good. The winter tree programme is going well. We've got about 600 trees planted so far this year. We've got a lot more to do, but obviously we're coping well and keeping ahead of the game. And finally, I'd just like to thank all the officers and staff who worked through Christmas and the New Year. And, you know, they've done such an excellent job, and I can't praise the staff enough for what they've done, because, you know, we've got to keep this city looking immaculate, and I'm very pleased with the way it's gone. So thank you, Chip. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wickham. Thank you. And when you list the new equipment, it does show that it's not all doom and gloom. That in that £200 million and the capital investment we put into the city, that many positive things are happening and many things are improving, and that's borne out in the consultation documents actually. So thank you for that update. Councillor Dr. John Mahoney.
Thank you, Leader. Just some announcements about the Adult Social Care Discharge Grant. Following the announcement in early December by the government of the deployment of 500 million of national funding to support hospital discharge, PCC Adult Social Care Commissioning Team have worked in partnership and at speed to deploy initiatives to support discharges and help with the flow at Derriford Hospital. This included commencing yesterday an investment in additional hours of independence at home, which is our Plymouth City Council reablement service, that will increase weekly slots by up to 200% in the short term and enable more people to return home on their discharge from hospital. An enhanced support offer of short-term one-to-one staffing with wraparound multidisciplinary support from Livewell South West for individuals with complex dementia needs being discharged from hospital into a care home. This is now live and supporting 4 people at any one time for periods of up to 2 weeks. This service is working well and already helping to ensure individuals with more complex needs are able to leave hospital, which is good for them to do, and move to a more appropriate setting as soon as possible once they are medically able to do so. There's some further investment in the international recruitment support for social care providers, with a focus on supporting a sustainable growth in the domiciliary care workforce in the coming weeks and months, and also a step-down care service in partnership with Age UK to provide additional short-term support for individuals leaving either the short-term care centre, that's the Venton Centre, the Care Hotel or Mount Gold Hospital. This can help people to return home quicker by offering a pathway and an extra support for families with Age UK actively taking part in the complex multidisciplinary teams to identify individuals suitable for this service. This is now live with the capacity to support 8 individuals a day. So there are moves to increase the flow of discharges from hospital, which of course is headlines every day in the news. And I would like to thank all those involved in the care sector, be it in hospital, be it in care homes or in domiciliary care services, who particularly over the bad weather in the winter thus far have provided an excellent service. And in Plymouth, I think we have been holding our own at getting our patients discharged from hospital, which helps free up patients who need to go into hospital, free up space. So thank you to all of them. That's my report.
Thanks, Councillor Mahoney. Councillor Stoneman.
No announcements from each.
Councillor Carlisle.
Thank you. I'll follow on from Councillor Dreen as well. So we did have a very exciting call this morning with someone called Primary Engineering, which are a not-for-profit basing, and what they do is they go into schools and they help encourage STEM and they help with the teachers, and what they've asked us to do is to work with the trains basically, and we're going to be encouraging 10 schools and giving them the ability to build their own sort of type of trains and working on it. So it's going to be with primary schools, but as we're saying, and no pun intended, it is like igniting that passion of STEM for children at a very young age, and then hopefully, again, this is all very early stages, but you know, hopefully we'll be able to have like a nice celebration event as well, where the schools can come in and show us what they've been able to create over that time. So that's a case of like, watch this space and hopefully it'll get a bit better. I'd like to also highlight and shine a light on our Plymouth Youth Service. They've done a lot of work over the last few months as well. So one of the numbers, which is amazing, is the amount of participants that they've engaged across all the groups that they have and all the workers that they have since October is 792 children. A higher number of that is from our detached group. They have worked with 378 children and young people across. And what they do is they go out citywide, they go out at all times of day and night, they go and visit schools as well and engage the children to make the streets safer as well and to give them advice and support. And one other thing is I would like to thank everyone who worked really, really hard on the Christmas packages this year. Myself and lots of volunteers turned up and we wrapped lots and lots of boxes and we managed to give out festive fun packages to 244 families as well as we managed to do over 50 family packages as well as Christmas hampers and food vouchers. And it was all the hard work of our senior youth worker, Kerry Powell-Tuckett, who works tirelessly behind the scenes, and she drove that whole thing for us. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Carwell. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Leader. This sort of not strictly my portfolio area, but I've got the announcement to make. So it's around the violence against women and girls work that we've been doing in the city over the last 12 to 18 months. And obviously I chaired the commission that we set up on that. And the reason why I'm saying it is because Councillor Patel hasn't seen the news yet. So that's why I'm showing it, which is that literally about 40 minutes ago, I had an email to say that we've, one of the recommendations under the driving culture change needed to challenge male violence against women and girls in the city was that we should share our learning and experience with others, and we specifically recommended as a commission that local MPs should be called on to host a debate in Westminster about the work that we've been doing, and I've just heard this afternoon that that's been secured for next Wednesday. So Plymouth's work on violence against women and girls will be debated for an hour in Westminster Hall on Wednesday the 25th of January, which is great because that's another recommendation we can say we've delivered on. And although that's not going to have a direct impact on women and girls in the city, it highlights what we've been doing and raises the profile and will require a ministerial response as well. So it's all good news to get what we're doing out in the open, and hopefully there might then be funding that comes down the road to help us deliver all of that work on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
Brilliant news, and you're in that debate. You're attending the.
I've got budget scrutiny in the morning, so I'm trying to work out if there's a way I can jump on a train as soon as it's finished. So.
Good. I mean, it's just terrific work, and the fact that we've led on that, and the tragedies that have happened in this city, that we've, it's been tragic, and we've turned some positive action on the back of that, and got that now into being discussed in Westminster. And I mean, now it's going to be the whole spectrum of services that need looking at, from criminal justice processing through to sort of youth support, mentoring, education, and the rest of it. And they're very proud that has spawned from this humble city. So thank you, Councillor Patel.
Yeah, just two small announcements. The first one, British Art Show British Art Show 9 came to an end just recently. We had over 80,000 visitors across the sites, which is a good amount given the economic conditions at the moment. And the new programme for the box will commence from February. I don't know what it is yet. The announcement hasn't been made, but there will be new artists and what have you commencing from February. The events programme for 2023, the events team have been really busy negotiating and trying to finalise a programme, and I've got a rough draft at the moment. So we have a lot of events starting from May. Again, we're going to have the Privates Weekend down the Barbican, the Ocean City Running Festival with the marathon. I won't read them all out, but we've got programmes going on all the way through until September at the moment, which have all been finalised. There are a few more still in the pipeline to be finalised, and the team are working really hard on that. One, to keep the costs down and make sure it doesn't cost the city any more than we've agreed, and two, to bring in additional operators and organisations to start putting on events for us. So there's a really exciting programme, and the press release will be going out soon.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay. thanks to everyone for their continued hard work, and I will now move on to agenda item 8, and that is Plymouths Future. This is our strategic delivery plan. It was titled, if you recall, back in July, Our Opportunity, Our Delivery Plan. So it's a Q2 progress update. I will speak. I don't know if anyone else wants to sort of chip in, and but I'm really pleased. If you recall, when we came through the election last year, we quite swiftly put in place a strategic direction, if you like, for this year's council. That focused centrally around 4 principles. The first being to deliver higher value jobs. The second, delivering good quality green homes. The third, ensuring decent education. And the fourth, access to first class health and care. There's been quite a lot of progress across those 4 areas, but I do want to just sort of briefly touch upon social care and care. John Mahoney himself sort of talked about some of this. Our new short-term care centre has supported over 140 people to leave hospital since opening, and will be an extremely useful asset to assist the hospital through this winter. A 40-bedded care hotel opened in November to support Derriford Hospital through the winter by increasing the amount of complex discharge capacity in the city. In terms of homes, the first homes have been completed at the new Stirling project, Honicknoll, which has seen 9 service veterans involved in the construction of 25 self-contained affordable homes to rent. I was particularly moved by the story of Adrian Colwell, a former Royal Artillery soldier who has received the keys to his new home that he actually helped to build. So not only does Adrian have a new home for his family, but he's got a whole new set of skills and go on building, I hope, if he's got time for other people and provide them with a home. The central priority for us is to generate high value jobs. If we're reading the data right, we are, or the median wages for full-time worker in Plymouth is something like £60 a week less than the median average across the country. So for us, we see jobs generation as kind of the stimulator for everything else that could be good about public services and good about community. So the Plymouth South Devon Freeport became operational on the 13th of October 2022 when we signed the MOU then in December 2022. This approval unlocks millions of pounds of grant seed funding and enables businesses to take advantage of the Freeport status. We are estimating that Freeport will generate around 2,000 jobs in the next 3 years. Alongside that, Plymouth University, Exeter University and the City Council have been awarded £890,000 to look at a pilot programme basically around marine autonomy with the Maritime and Coastal Agency. Another good news story for us is that the Arts Council England are investing more than £12 million into this city's cultural organisations over the next 3 years. This doesn't just recognise Plymouth's role as a cultural and arts hotspot. Actually, we've all been to places recently when we travel away sort of representing the city where other cities have received efficiency savings to their cultural grants, that they've got less money than they were used to in the past. This is a major achievement for Plymouth City Council. It reflects the importance of cross-party working when you're doing presentations and when you're sort of hosting the big delegations down here, and actually cross-party vision as well, so that we all work out behind the scenes what our vision is for the arts and cultural scene here in Plymouth before we go in front of very, very important audiences that decide on funding, basically. So long may that collaborative work continue behind the scenes in politics, and long may we get that investment into our burgeoning arts scene here. The Christmas light switch on events in the city centre and Barbican actually drew record numbers, pleased to report, and that record numbers is extra money for businesses and extra jobs for local people. And the positive impact of Plymouth hosting Sale GP has also been made available now in the latest progress report. We had a worldwide television audience of more than 74 million people tuning in from across 175 countries. We attracted almost 16 million views on social media, and we have estimated that the economic impact is more than £10 million for our city. As a slight aside, we also got the seal of approval from the Princess of Wales. So there you go. I was pleased to read in the press a few days ago around the number of small businesses in Plymouth increasing. They've increased by 265 over the last year. That's a 4.5% uplift. Now, it doesn't sound much, but when you take into account that across the country, actually, the amount of SME and small business startups has reduced, actually. It's gone down by 83,000 nationally. So we are becoming an entrepreneurial success story. So we'll end on a high there. Has anyone got any questions or any comments they'd like to make around that midterm report? Councillor Sher.
With your permission, Chair, I'd just like to add that Exeter University are involved in the Pioneer Fund and they're developing hydrogen fuel cells, which is going to be very important for us as well.
Excellent. Good. So I'm asking Cabinet to note the report, if you're happy to. Thank you, team. Thank you. Agenda item 9, Tamar Bridge and Tall Point Ferry, 2023 to 24 Revenue and Capital Programme Report. Councillor Dreen.
Thank you, Leader. This report is an annual event which is basically business as usual, with the existing governance requiring that both parent authorities agree an annual budget for the Tamar Bridge and Tall Point Ferry to facilitate the undertakings as part of the operational delivery remit. The report, however, was penned before the inflation rose to more than 10%, and with high fuel and energy costs impacting the crossings operations. The outcome of these impacts on the bridge and the ferry finances will be manifested in 2024-2025, when the joint undertaking will be unable to propose a balanced budget, unless, of course, remedial action is taken. With the recent toll increase agreed by the Secretary of State in September 22 and delivered to us in writing in December 2022, an increase of 30% was applied to the bridge and ferry as of the 1st of January this year, with Tamar tags being changed last year. It was hoped at that time the application was made that this increase would allow time for the joint authorities to pursue changes in legislation that would allow the joint committee to apply for an RPI locally CC Devon Devo deal to avoid further large increases in the future. It now looks, however, that while RPI is being negotiated with the Department of Transport, the Joint Committee will have to review options for managing and identifying shortfalls over the coming years, particularly as the Tamar Bridge Act of 1957 sets out the default process to be followed if such deficits arise, namely that the parent authorities, Cornwall Council and Plymouth City Council, cover the deficit that would look at a subsequent recovery at some stage later when the undertaking returned to a surplus position. It is also worth mentioning that the traffic volumes of the bridge are still only at 90% of pre-COVID figures, reducing income severely. Just for everyone's benefit, 1% of traffic down is about £100,000. So 10% down, you're about £1 million down. Both Plymouth City Council and Cornwall Council are keen to ensure that the bridge and ferry crossings maintain as a user pays operation and that there is no cost to either council. Work currently undertaken by the local partnerships is reviewing all options and will advise on efficiency, value for money and governance, where they will be reporting to the Joint Committee in late March regarding their findings and possible options for the future management of the crossings. I should also note that a letter to Johnny Mercer MP from the Department of Transport referred to a recent letter written by myself and my joint co-chair to local MPs regarding financial support for the bridge from the Department of Transport or National Highways. This has now been firmly ruled out by the Under-Secretary of State, Richard Holden MP, as was by his predecessor, Baroness Veer. While there is much work to do to ensure we have a balanced budget for future years, I am able to recommend this report and its recommendations supported by the Cabinet. I'm joined by Adrian Trim, who's the senior officer that leads on this as well. Adrian, have I covered everything?
Yes, Jerry, everything's been covered in the report. Just suffice to say that the planned work stream that we're looking at, what the joint committee is looking at, will be taking place on the 10th of February. So we will be able to report back at a later date to Cabinet of the outcomes of that.
Great, thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Dream. Thank you, Adrian. Any questions? Okay, in that case, we move to the Cabinet recommends to Council, number 1, that the 2023-24 revenue estimates and capital programme and the draft 2023-24 business plan as set out in the appendices to the JC report be approved, and number 2, the longer term forecast to 2026-27 is noted. We're all happy? Content? Thank you. Agenda item 10, Finance Monitoring Report Month 8. I move to introduce Councillor Shea to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. This report sets out the revenue monitoring position of the council forecast to the end of the financial year 2022-23 as at November, period 8. We're now reporting a net overspend of £3.1 million. Last month, we reported to Council the overspend was 4.1. This is an improvement of £978,000 in the last month. I have said consistently that the year-end position would improve, and it has. And I am confident it will continue to improve. I have previously stated that if we can get to the third quarter, which is December's report, at below £3 million, we'll be in a very strong position for the final push through to the last quarter of the financial year, and we're on target for this. To demonstrate this, it is therefore important to set out the improvement month by month from the £15+ million additional pressures to this current position. It demonstrates intent and a grip on the finances of this council. We're having to cover £6 million of non-controllable costs this year, including the inflated energy price and fuel prices, and the ongoing impact of COVID-19's legacy cost in adults and children's social care, and the number of people requiring emergency bed and breakfast accommodation. We will continue working hard to achieve a balanced position by the end of March. As I say each month at Cabinet, I would like to thank all the officers and the Cabinet colleagues for their efforts to date. It is a huge achievement in itself, given the starting position at the start of the year. So well done, everybody. And my recommendation is for the Cabinet to note the forecast revenue monitoring position at period 8 at £3.1 million deficit currently.
Content to do so? Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 11, Council Tax Base and the Council Tax Support Scheme for 2023-24. Councillor Shea.
Thank you very much, Leader. This is a technical report which goes on to full council in January and forms part of the resources calculations for the 2023-24 revenue budget. It is a statutory requirement for the council to approve the council tax base for the forthcoming financial year and the annual review of their council tax support scheme. The option to amend the council tax support scheme requires public consultation, and there are no major government amendments. It is considered correct to continue with the existing scheme. What we do and why. Ahead of each financial year, we have to calculate the number of Band D properties, as this forms the basis for the council tax setting process. The council tax base assumptions include growth and demand on our council tax scheme during the year 2023-24. The level of council tax subsequently set must be determined using the council tax base figure, and takes into account the authority's estimated council tax collection rate. And we have retained this at 97.5% this year, which is prudent given recent collection levels. The council tax base calculation is attached in Appendix B of the report. We must remember that the council tax we collect includes precepts for Devon and Cornwall Police, the Crime Commissioner, and Devon and Somerset's Rescue Authority. All councils are required to annually review their council tax support schemes. Significant changes? A review of the 2023 council tax support scheme has not identified any issues that require changes to be made to the scheme for this year. Details of the scheme are set out in this report. Current caseload figure confirms that the number of residents claiming council tax support decreased by less than 1% in the last 12 months. That's October 2021 to 2022. And caseload figures have remained stable at around 22,300 throughout that year. The council tax support continues to provide a vital support for many households in the city who have continued to lose income whilst household expenditures are increasing due to rising energy and food costs. And it is expected that the caseload within the year 2022-23 can be funded within the available financial envelope. Our recommendation is for the council to approve the council tax base for 2022-23 of 74,891 equivalent Band D dwellings as set out in the report, and to continue the current council tax support scheme and exceptional hardship scheme for the year 2022-2023 with no updates.
Thanks, Councillor Share. Everyone content to note the report and the base? Yep. Yeah. Content? Thank you.
Good.
Agenda item 12, the draft budget report 2023 to 24, and I will start, and then I think Councillor Share would want to say a few words. The report that we have before us today sets out the draft budget for 2023-24 and the proposed council tax rate. I just want to sort of remind Cabinet and indeed all members that we do have a legal duty to balance the budget, and in my view we have a moral duty to grip local public finances. The scale of the task in getting to the stage where we can recommend a draft budget should not be underestimated, given the unprecedented historic challenges this year, which are being faced by all local councils, not least due to national inflation running at above 10%, the soaring energy costs, and the increasing demand pressures and rising costs in social care services. You will recall that in the summer 2022, these factors led us to identify a projected overspend of 15.5 million within this financial year, and then a £37.6 million shortfall in the resources we need to set the balanced budget for 2023 to 2024. That's a shortage of something to the tune of £53 million. It's not been seen before in local government, and I have to say it becomes quite frustrating when we hear from people within council that they have seen this before, and all the officers, most of the members will tell you this is completely unprecedented, and indeed other leaders across Devon, across Somerset, across the entire country have had to be gripping with this as well this year. So it is, more than anything else, it's a mathematical problem, not just a social problem that we've had to grip. We have had to make difficult decisions and to think about really, really difficult decisions. We've had to think about whether we pause or stop services or activities. But we have committed to protect those statutory services and frontline services to the best of our abilities. But setting a budget is not just our task, it's everyone's task across the city. And so we are committed sincerely to listening to Plymouth residents, as we did in the build-up before Christmas, when we held public engagement exercises and surveys to seek views on proposed measures to help close the shortfall. None of us are experts in making budget savings and running budgets, and we can learn from everybody else across the city. So I'm pleased to say that we did have around 300 responses from citizens, many of them very, very thoughtful and constructive. And we have included a summary of the feedback, and we set that out in this report. We are, of course, considering all of the feedback that we've received, and we continue to make decisions on the budget. And I really would like to thank everyone around the city for forwarding their ideas around this budget. The report before us today does show a lot of progress in closing this budget gap. Through savings and other measures, we have identified £25.8 million of that 37 million. The report recommends that, like most other councils across the country, that we increase council tax by 2.99%, as well as the levy for a 2% precept to support the increases in costs and demand for looking after the elderly and social care for both adults and children. We are highly aware that Plymouth households are also facing rising bills and the impact of the cost of living crisis. So we do not take this decision lightly. However, we do need to protect frontline and statutory services, and we really do need to protect the elderly and vulnerable in Plymouth, including our children in care homes. We also need to remind ourselves that the increase is limited to 2.99%, and this compares to inflation that's running sometimes above 10%. However, we need also to remember that even with the proposed increase, we do still have a sizable gap to close before the full council meeting scheduled for 27th of February to set the budget. So lots and lots of hard work continues. We remain determined to deliver a budget that gets us through this extremely difficult financial situation and enables us to emerge as a leaner and greener council that is even more effective and efficient. We also remain determined to make sure that these unprecedented historic challenges don't impact upon our strong ambitions for Plymouth. And I believe our success so far has been demonstrated in this progress report earlier on today's Cabinet agenda. So finally, I would just like to thank everyone involved in getting us to this stage today, where we can actually recommend a very robust and realistic draft budget. It is the result of a huge amount of hard work by members, by officers across our council and our finance team over the last 6 months. We're not there yet, but together we have achieved a massive amount. So thank you. Councillor Sher.
Thank you, Leader. As the Leader just stated, the Council continues to manage a challenging financial environment of 10% inflation, where service demands also continue to increase, with longer-term legacy of COVID-19 continues and where uncertain and unpredictable funding and cost levels remain. Together with authorities, the Council is in a serious and unprecedented position due to the additional national and international factors largely beyond its control, including rapidly rising energy costs, broader inflation-related cost increases, and demand pressures and costs in both adult and children's care. This report sets out to update to the draft budget, which was presented to Cabinet in November last year. At the same time, we were presented with a budget gap to close of £11.3 million. We now show a revised gap of 617,000 as set out in the recommendations. And we are asked to delegate authority to the Section 151 officer in consultation with myself as Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Finance and the Economy to propose final adjustments to achieve a final balanced revenue budget, which we will present to Cabinet in February. But let's not fool ourselves. There are several key areas to think about, not least that we get to this position, we all need to work together to ensure we deliver the full £26 million worth of savings as previously set out. We will, of course, consider the views of the public engagement and the Budgetary Scrutiny Committee next week, but we must make these savings and must make the target. As the latest leader stated, this report is proposing a 2.99% increase in council tax and a further 2% increase on the adult social care precept. These two measures together provide additional resources of £6.2 million, not just for 2022, 23, 24, but also for future years as part of our core income. It goes without saying that without this increase, we would be looking at a financial gap next year of £6.8 million. This report also reminds us that the council delivers more than 300 services as diverse as bin collections, protecting vulnerable children, providing libraries, making planning decisions, attracting investment and jobs in the city, providing leisure facilities, providing parking, maintaining roads, pavement, and looking after Plymouth's parks and green spaces, including our ambitious plans for the future. Every part of the council has been involved in the response to the budget situation, and many employees and services will need to work in new ways. A significant amount of the work continues to support the city's economy, which has been severely affected by the recent pandemic and the cost of living crisis. High-value jobs remain a priority. It should be noted that options are limited by the fact that the council needs to deliver a large number of services as a statutory requirement and has limited scope to influence how these services are delivered. In conclusion, and stated in the report, this report sets out the remaining budget gap after the application of council tax and the precept increases, which are proposed to be approved at full council on the 27th of February 2023. To get to this position, Cabinet members, officers and staff have incorporated the impact of the provisional settlement, and the financial settlement has not yet been notified. It is not expected that this will result in any significant variation. We are therefore being asked to recommend to Council to approve a budget position that we will require to adopt a council tax increase of 2.99% and an adult social care precept increase of 2%. The full recommendations are stated in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Share. Any questions? Councillor Stoneman.
It's not so much a question, but rather a comment. Nobody, comes in to make these difficult decisions that we as cabinet and officers have had to make. But it's been the fiscally responsible thing to do and a legally binding responsibility that we have upon all of us. And I think going forward, we've got a budget that we have worked hard on. We've thought very, very carefully about the decisions that we've made. And I think that it's been the right thing that we've had to do. So I just want to thank all the officers and also my fellow cabinet colleagues on the work that we've done to get to this point, whilst acknowledging that there is still further work to do to create a balanced budget by February.
I'll respond to that. Thank you very much, Councillor Stoneman. And it's been a long and uphill struggle, but working with you in the imaginative ways that you have put forward, and the officers and all the staff out there, that's really important that as a team we've all worked together to achieve something really, really difficult, but we've actually achieved it. And that's something that we should all hold high. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Stoneman. And just to say that we have done that work, and it now falls to all councillors to give us feedback through the scrutiny process that is happening next week. So there's 3 days of scrutiny on the budget next week. and then obviously the full council will discuss the budget on February the 27th. It is for council to pass the budget. This is our proposals, and I therefore ask that Cabinet proceed to vote in approval or otherwise. Those who approve. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Colleagues, there is nothing further for Cabinet today. I'd like to thank you for your attendance, your diligence, and for all you do for Plymouth. And indeed, it's been very, very tough for the officers, including Tracy Lee, Chief Executive, to oversee the budget process and all the preparations, the planning, the briefing, the mathematics. David Northey as well, to sort of new interposter section 151. I just want to record my thanks to you all and wish you a pleasant evening. Thank you.